The preceding program was brought to you in part by FTD. FTD.com for all of your gift-giving needs. Welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti. It's actually Town of Old Saybrook night tonight on the Pete Mezzetti Show, and with me to discuss what's going on with the Town of Old Saybrook is Heather McNeil, who is with Old Saybrook Youth and Family Services. Welcome. How are you?
Thanks, Pete. I'm good. Thanks for having me back.
Thanks for coming down. How have you been?
Good. Thank you.
What's new?
Oh, it's been busy at the agency, as you can imagine, with spring coming and planning for summer programming and the end of school year. We've been really busy.
And I'm assuming you're busy with what's going on up at the Capitol in Hartford.
Sure. Yep. We have Connecticut Youth Service Association Youth Day at the Capitol coming up on the 24th or 25th. Actually, I should know which date that is.
Okay.
But where our youth groups can go up and advocate for bills in legislature that impact them directly.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And you think that's going to...
It's usually really well attended,
Is
especially
it?
from the towns that are closer to Hartford, because we have to get the kids out of school, but New Britain and Middletown and whatnot always have a strong presence at that.
Now, how long have you been with Youth and Family Services?
15 years.
Wow.
In March, yep. And it's different every day, and I've loved all of it. It's always a challenge and an opportunity to really develop things that I'm passionate about. Yep.
Now, what types of services do you guys offer?
Sure. We provide clinical counseling services for individuals, families, and couples. We work within the schools as well. So we have a clinical staff of marriage and family therapists, drug and alcohol, and licensed professional counselors, as well as some master level interns from CCSU, SCSU, Fairfield University, and UConn.
Okay.
So we provide a training program for graduate therapy interns and training. And then we do positive youth development programming, which is some of the fun stuff. And then we also do prevention education. In fact, that's one of our legislative mandates, is to provide prevention education for parents and students and the community.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about each program.
Sure. Okay. So the prevention work is actually what was on the topic for tonight, because National Prevention Week is coming up in May 11th through the 17th.
Okay.
And of course that's a national movement, but within each area we are tasked with coming up with our own agenda. So within the high school, for instance, we'll have certain what we call tabling events, which is providing education for students around things like tanning beds, because prom season's coming and they all go to the tanning beds.
Yes.
And there's a lot of risk inherent with that. So we'll partner with someone like the local town nurse who will come and she'll give out samples of sunscreen and other things and talk to kids about risk. On the end of that week, on Friday, we're having a town green kind of party for middle school students who've been involved with some of our prevention topics throughout the year. Okay. And we'll have some activities and things for them to do. But we focus on things like reducing the amount of time they spend on video games, but also gambling is kind of a new, gaming and gambling, spending money on video games and accessories is kind of a new issue for younger students. So we have experts who will come and talk to them about that as well. But energy drinks, vaping, tobacco, CBD, things like that. So,
wow.
Yeah. And then the other part that I mentioned was counseling services, and we provide services for residents of Old Saybrook, and regardless of their ability to pay. So as you may know, mental health services are much in need these days, especially post-COVID, and sometimes hard to access. So in Old Saybrook, people can call Youth and Family Services. I do a brief assessment over the phone to see if we're the right fit for them, to make sure we're the right level of care, and then can assign them to one of our clinical staff. Within the school, we work with the school guidance teams to provide support for students who, may be struggling with anxiety related to a test or going to class,
right.
or maybe there's some social relationship issues going on, because middle school can have a lot of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So our clinical staff are in the schools usually Monday through Thursday, and we're also in the elementary school because we do a lot of emotion regulation and conflict resolution things with the younger kids. So they don't know that that's what it is. It's designed as fun, and but it's usually very successful, and it runs all year round.
Now, I understand that you've been collaborating with Lyme
Youth Service Bureau.
Youth Services
Yeah.
about a suicide prevention project on the Baldwin Bridge.
Yes, absolutely. And you may remember, Pete, from the news in November of 2023, two state troopers, I want to make sure I get their names right, Sergeant Matthew Bells and Sergeant Ashley Harkins,
Yes.
saw a woman on the Baldwin Bridge over the fence as if she were about to go to the water. And they were able to intervene and successfully talk her through coming back over the fence. So Mary Seidner, who's the director of Lyme Youth Service Bureau, had reached out to me probably 18 months ago about a sign, getting a sign project done on both sides of the river, because there's easy access to that bridge, right? It's lovely sometimes to go up there and look at the river, but we wanted to have a sign that provided resources for people who might be at risk.
Okay.
So I was up there this morning, and
I was going to say, I believe we're going to take a look at the sign right now. Let's take a
So
look.
those are the signs on the Saybrook side, one at the bottom of the walkway, and then one as you approach the bridge.
Okay.
The QR code, which anyone can scan, brings you right to the state site, which is suicide prevention resources. And sometimes even an environmental strategy like that, if someone's going up there and feeling like they want to do something to hurt themselves, even that can be, a preventive measure that they could think about and stop for a moment and reach out for help. So we're really excited that this is moving forward. In September, during Suicide Prevention Month, we'll actually have an event where we have students from both sides, Lyme High School and Saybrook High School, come to the unveiling of these signs and then do a walk across the bridge to meet each other. And also the two state troopers, we hope to have them there to honor them for their efforts as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow, very nice.
So I think that's a really nice thing. Yeah.
Now, you said September is Suicide Prevention Month?
Yes, it is. So the whole month nationally, it's Suicide Prevention Month. So we do a lot of, community education in person and through our newsletter, our email database.
Okay.
And of course, all year round, we have resources available at the agency and on the town website and on our own website.
Right.
Because it's a preventable issue. And one of the things we work with a lot of students around is peer-to-peer. Their friends talk to them about struggles they're having and maybe things that they're struggling with. And we want to encourage students to come and get adult help when that happens, to not shoulder the responsibility for their friend. Sometimes they struggle with feeling like that's a betrayal, so we have to work through that with them as well. But we want them to know that help is available.
And now, do you guys reach just the town of Old Saybrook, or do you reach all over the state?
Yeah, well, our agency does have a residency requirement. We're municipally funded, and not all the youth service bureaus are. So Westbrook, for instance, is a 501c3 and can take clients from Clinton or other towns. So each one is different. There's about 142 of them in the 169 towns in Connecticut. So, and they're all different. But we have a lot of the same, we all have the same legislative mandate. So.
And what is some of that legislative mandate?
It's to provide prevention education, to do community advocacy around issues that affect the wellness of youth and their families. So our prevention work really entails risk reduction and an increase in protective factors, which may include things like positive adult role models or mentoring programs, or even the new one that I'm beginning to work on is a youth employment program. our recent survey of students in grades 6 through 12, we realized that most high school students, once they become eligible to work, are not working.
Right.
And back in the day, I was babysitting at 13, and my parents probably encouraged me to get a bigger job when I was 16.
Right.
As you're saving for college and whatever else. And we found that there's been a sharp drop in that, either because of an unavailability of local employment or a lack of understanding of how to go about it, or maybe less parent encouragement to do that. We're not quite sure. So we really want to work with businesses. I'm meeting with the chamber next week in the morning to talk about, what are you looking for? What kinds of things can young people do within your business? Is there an opportunity there for them? And we'll try to spearhead
team up with the chamber, and they're a wonderful organization.
They are. Yep.
Everybody at the chamber office is great.
No, they are. And they have a big membership, too.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. Matter of fact, I'm a member of the chamber.
Yep, good.
And as far as, maybe we can give it a little bit of time to, like, suicide prevention and if people...
Sure. I think that, it's such a big topic and probably under-discussed in certain ways. And there are so many different reasons why, especially youth, might be considering it. They don't have the life experience to be able to think long-term necessarily.
Right.
And we've heard that phrase, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. But often when youth are 14, 15, 16, their brains don't have the capacity to necessarily put that in perspective.
Right.
And so we want to make sure that it's not a solution that they're thinking of accessing, that we want them to reach out and understand how to get help before they feel like they're at that point. And also to work with parents and other adults in there, even coaches, parents, people that they might see at church, to be able to understand some of the warning signs for what might be leading to that.
Right. Yeah. Would you mind sticking around for another segment?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll be right back. Thanks for sticking around. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti, sitting here with Heather O'Neill from the Old Saybrook Youth and Family Services. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you. So let's open up this segment talking about the Dalio study.
Sure. It's a study that I had sent along to you. It's called Connecticut's Unspoken Crisis.
Yes.
But it was a study that was done that identified 119,000 kids in Connecticut who are at risk.
Okay.
And that's characterized by, it's at risk and disconnected, which means that they may be at risk of flunking out of school. There may be a lot of absenteeism so that the school doesn't have a lot of information about home environment and what supports might be needed. It could be that they've been unidentified in terms of mental health concerns or even physical illness, and they're unemployed or unemployable.
Gotcha.
So, a dismal picture at the young age predicts kind of a dismal future as they launch out into adulthood.
Yes.
So that's why it's called a crisis point. And so youth service bureaus in Connecticut and other youth serving organizations are being tasked with kind of a multi-pronged approach to address this in our own communities, and then of course on a state level we work with other organizations as well.
Now let's talk about the approach.
Sure. So within our agency and within youth service bureaus, as far as I'm aware, we have certain things that we're always working on, which is reducing risk-taking behaviors and increasing protective factors within a community. So, for instance, one of the things that we've recently done is a full student survey, grades 6 through 12.
Okay.
And the data that came back from that is providing us with information to help us design our initiatives and programs for the next 3 years. So some of the things that we noticed from the data that we got back is there are more students than ever involved in isolated behaviors like gaming, and they spend a lot of time alone in areas just playing games.
Okay.
So while they're alone, they are still connected to whoever they're playing with. Sometimes they know them, sometimes they don't. There's
Right.
multi-format platforms that they're connected to. But some of the risk involved with that is they don't know who they're playing with.
Right.
So we want to have more information to help them determine, and parents determine, what are safe parameters for them
Right.
around that. Some of the other strategies include just getting kids outside and re-engaged with each other
Right.
and with nature. So to that end, this summer we have several programs with the Bushy Hill Center in Ivoryton.
Oh, sure.
We take them to Mystic Aquarium, we take them to Gillette's Castle, we do a lot of hiking groups with grades 3 and 4, 5 and 6. And also the youth employment piece is, we also noted in the survey that there's even though they have a community service hour requirement in high school, a lot of them beyond that don't necessarily engage with much of the community. And
Right.
some of that may be that fewer families attend church than they used to,
Right.
even 10 years ago. Fewer students are working, so they're not engaged with businesses and getting their folks to come in and engage in that. And so the youth employment program that I'm in the process of developing hopefully will get youth connected in that way. I think the school is doing a really great job, for instance, in bringing Electric Boat to the high school to do the interviews, because some of those students start with an internship in high school and end up getting employed.
Really?
Because not everybody is college bound
Right.
by decision or other factors. So I think it's great to have them feel like there's still a future for them that's going to be productive and economically feasible.
Right.
Yeah.
You guys are a very busy organization.
It is busy, and it takes a lot of different forms. One of the things that we've been struggling with really is having parents come out to programs and events,
Okay.
even though, we design them around things they've told us they want. And I totally get it. When everybody gets home, they're too tired to go back out. So then we offer it hybrid, in person and online,
Oh, there
and
you go.
still attendance is low. And across the board, other youth service bureaus talk about the same thing. So I think in general, adults and parents are fatigued.
Right.
After COVID especially, I'm not sure everyone has just bounced back.
No.
And not that they will. It's not going to be like it was before.
Right.
But for instance, the survey presentation that we did previously, before COVID, I would have had a full library at the middle school for that. And then we did it online just a few weeks ago. I only had about 11 parents for the grades 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Really?
So that was disappointing. We will find other ways to get the information out to them, but it's always nice to have them attend so we can have interactive discussion about the results.
Now, what types of information did you share when you did the course?
Well, one thing I think that's of interest is that technology is always going to be part of the conversation that we're having now in terms of what's impacting our students and what they're exposed to. And 46 overall of the student body 6 through 12, 46% reported that they had received some kind of sexting information on their phone. And that's a very high statistic.
Right.
And it's also very shocking if you're in grade 6 and something like that comes up on your phone. And we wanted to share information with parents about the legal consequences of that as well, because it's very serious.
Right.
Even if you didn't send it, but you receive it on your phone, and then you have it on your phone, you show it to somebody else.
Right.
So that kind of information is concerning. And of course, we also surveyed positive information, which was that most kids identified, I think it was 97% of the students identified that they feel safe in their community, they feel safe in their school, and they feel well connected to at least one other adult besides their parents. And the information that we can give parents that's positive is across the board, all students recognize their parents as a valuable resource and support for them, emotionally and in other ways.
Wow.
So as much as parents often think they're not doing a great job,
Yep.
this survey information indicated they really are. So we like to tell them that.
Right. And I'm sure that now that the school year is winding down, are you guys winding down, or are you guys just ramping up to get ready?
We have little bits of time between, where we transition from one level of activity to another that's just as busy but different. Right. So in the summer we can be outside much more.
Right.
And we often provide a bridge between students who receive our services within the school year. When those services aren't available during school, they can still come to the agency. Right. So we see parents and students during the summer. And we connect with the summer school program in the middle school to provide after, so they go from 9 to 12, and then we do something with them in the afternoon. Because then that helps parents be able to maintain their work schedule with less disruption, which is important.
Oh, you guys work with the summer school program too?
Well, we align with them quite frequently. Okay. And the guidance team at the middle school and in the elementary school and high school, we work with them all the time. So in any way that we can support those students, we are doing that.
And you guys work with obviously work with the superintendent's office very closely.
Yeah, absolutely. We had him over for breakfast to the agency a few weeks ago, and he got to meet everybody. It was nice to welcome him to the team. And
I've actually had him on with me. He's very nice.
He is.
Very hospitable. The first time I had him on with me was right before he got hired. I had him and
Jan.
No?
Dr.
Bachman?
Oh, yes.
On with me.
Yep. Yeah. And a new initiative that we have is through the ARPA money in town. I had written a grant for a bilingual caseworker. And so we have two, one from the high school and one who works in the elementary school, who is going to help us connect more with the multilingual parent community. Because even if their students are assimilated within the educational system, the parents often don't feel as connected because of the language barrier.
Right.
So that's been a really important part of our work this past year as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now I'm sure we'll see each other again, but looking forward to the next school year. What are you guys looking for?
Well, I think over the summer, when we have downtime, we spend a lot of time going through our survey information and trying to see it with fresh eyes each time we look at it. And we have lots of different people looking at it. Because we're trying to determine, what is it really telling us? Right. And what could be needed? What are some of the areas of vulnerability, as well as highlighting some of the areas of strength? So we don't have any definitive plans for that yet. We just know that students and parents are looking for connection and an opportunity to re-engage. And the younger ones who may not necessarily know that that's what they need because COVID impacted that development for them, we have to kind of slowly get them out and push. And I think everyone works together. The Acton Public Library, Park and Rec, and us, and other departments, we're all kind of doing some of the same thing in different ways to try to make sure that everybody who needs something can access it.
So you guys work closely with Amanda from the library.
We do.
She was actually on with me not long ago.
She's great. There's a lot of really great people working in Old Saybrook who have a passion for what they do. There's a new children's librarian. She's coming to meet us on Thursday. Rebecca. And she's part of our early childhood council. All right. So and collaboration is key, right? Because we don't all have a ton of resources.
Exactly.
And we work together.
So tell us about the Early Childhood.
Sure. The Early Childhood Council it used to be a United Way funded program. It was grant funded. And it was to organize and coalesce daycare providers within the town of Old Saybrook and work on providing birth to 3 interventions and strategies. So a lot of the daycares aren't in business anymore, and Goodwin began their preschool program. So we still organize the providers who are available and the Goodwin School, but we work a lot with parents of very young kids to work towards early intervention around literacy issues and development. So we have a team of pediatricians and other providers that we can access for expert advice for them.
Now we've got a little bit more time left. Let's talk about the summer program.
Sure. So in the summer, it is a little bit different paced, and we still have our clinical work going all the time, but we provide on Tuesdays, for instance, teen trips for grades 7 through 12. And that might be anywhere to, we take them to Providence Mall to school shop, because there are no malls around here anymore. We go to, not Hammond, the beach in Rhode Island, Misquamicut. We'll take them to an exploring park. We take them to Outward Bound in Mystic, and then we take them to escape rooms. So just a day where there's an activity that's kind of low cost or no cost. And we have 2 vans, so we're able to transport about 14 students at a time. And so then that's on Tuesdays. The rest of the week we do things at the agency that are just kind of, again, disguised as fun. One's called Zen Group, and it's about mindfulness and self-regulation. But we do things like we make stress balls, or we might use essential oils and do a relaxation or a meditation. So we might take them up and down Main Street and have them go into a business and learn how to order ice cream and make change or pay for something. And then we take them to a lot of area attractions that they may not have ever been to, like Gillette's Castle or Pandemonium. Have you been to the rainforest in Deep River?
No, I haven't.
Have you heard of it?
Yes.
Okay. And they have some at-risk population of animals there that the kids can go and see, plus a really cool thrift store and just some amazing people to meet. So we just like to take them around to local businesses and get them engaged in what's going on around here.
Cool.
A lot of them also don't ride their bikes that much anymore, so we have a bike club, and we took them down to the Point, which is only like a mile, 1.2 miles. They were huffing and puffing and complaining, but they had a lot of fun, and then after that they asked for longer rides. So, and it usually ends up with ice cream. Everything that ends up with ice cream. So,
absolutely.
You know, I think that's good.
And if people want more information, where should they go on the website?
Sure. So the town website is oldsaybrookct.gov, and our website is osyfs.org.
Okay.
And anyone who's interested in clinical services can call my direct line, which is 860-510-5042, and leave a message.
Well, Heather McNeil from Youth and Family, thanks for some time, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to come back.
You got it. On behalf of Heather McNeil, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, good night, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
The preceding program was brought to you in part by FTD. FTD.com for all of your gift-giving needs.